Welcome everyone to today's Quality Food Safety Factor New Hire Onboard Training. We're very pleased to have you here today to be joining our team, and we're going to do an overview today over our quality systems and our food safety checks in order to provide our consumers the highest quality and safe products in the market. Good manufacturing practices, otherwise referred to as GMP. So the first thing you may ask, especially not working in the food industry, is what does GMP stand for? Well, as we alluded in the introductory, it stands for Good Manufacturing Practices, but it's most commonly referred to as GMPs. And these are used to provide the guidelines to companies that manufacture products for a variety of different industries. These industries include the food services, beverages, cosmetics, pharmaceutical products, dietary supplements, medical devices, and more. Because these items have such a direct and immediate impact on our customers, it's critical to ensure that everything is created to at least a basic standard of quality, which is where GMPs come in. GMP requirements. For a facility to be in line with good manufacturing practices, a company must meet GMP requirements in several different areas. The following are some of the key areas, although this is not an all-inclusive list. The facility must be clean and hygienic. Environmental conditions must be maintained in order to prevent cross-contamination. There must be clearly defined controls in place for safety. Employees must be trained to properly document any incidents. Proper records must be kept confirming processes are followed. Any complaints that are made about a product must be documented and then investigated. A system must be in place for recalling any products that are found to have a food safety problem or issue. In the United States, GMPs are enforced by the Food and Drug Administration, or commonly called to and referred to as the FDA. This is done under the Title 21 CFR. The FDA keeps these practices updated based on the latest standards that have set for the industry in which a GMP is created. Here on this slide, we have a visual aid of the 5 P's that consist of the GMP programs. We start out first with people in the far right corner. Everyone here today was hired to join the factory team in a specific role, and with that role there are responsibilities. An example would be if you were hired as a mechanic, one of the roles and responsibilities is our preventive maintenance program. Next, we have products. These are clearly defined specifications at every phase or step within the production. So an example of this would be our net weight for our products to the end consumer. Next, we go to processes. These need to be properly documented, simple, and consistent, which correlates next to procedures. These are the guidelines for undertaking those critical processes. And last but not least is premises. We need to have good cleanliness in our work environment, and our equipment must always be calibrated to ensure they're working as intended. Here at Factor, our people are one of our most valuable assets. And because of that, we expect all our Factor employees to make sure that they strictly adhere to the manufacturing processes and regulations. A current GMP training must be undertaken by all Factor employees to fully understand their roles and responsibilities. All products here at Factor must undergo constant testing, comparison, and quality assurance before distributing to our consumers. Manufacturers should ensure that primary materials, including our raw products and other components, have clear specifications at every phase of production. The standard method must be observed for our packing, testing, and allocating sample products. Processes should be properly documented, clear, consistent, and distributed to all employees. Regular evaluations should be conducted to ensure all Factor employees are complying with the current processes and are meeting the required standards of the organization. A procedure is a set of guidelines for undertaking a critical process or a part of a process to achieve a consistent result. It must be laid out to all Factor employees and followed consistently. Any deviation from the standard procedure should be reported immediately and then investigated. Premises should always promote cleanliness to avoid cross-contamination, accidents, or even fatalities. All equipment should be placed or stored properly and calibrated regularly to ensure they are fit for the purpose of producing consistent results to prevent the risk of equipment failure. Our good manufacturing practices, or GMPs, at Factor are as follows: wearing the hair nets, beard nets, slip-resistant shoes, and clean frocks while in the production areas. Frocks and other PPE, or personal protective equipment, that could consist of gloves, sleeves, and aprons as some examples, should never be worn in the break room, bathroom, or outside. Frocks should never be stored on tables, conveyors, or benches. This prohibits from any type of cross-contamination. A critical GMP at Factor is good hand washing for personal hygiene. You want to ensure you wash your hands for 20 seconds and put on new gloves before handling food or food contact materials. After using the washroom, touching your face or nose, handling contaminated material, switching tasks, taking out garbage, or after coming back from a break. And to the left, you can see the 6 steps of good hand washing technique. GMPs at Factor also include no nail varnish, false nails, false eyelashes, earrings, jewelry, stone wedding bands, and watches. The only exceptions are medical alert bracelets and plain wedding bands covered with a glove. To the right, you'll see some examples that we just mentioned. The use of a cell phone or chargers within the GMP areas is not allowed. If your gloves have torn or become dirty, wash your hands and put on new gloves. And obtain new gloves after 4 hours of continuous use of performing the same task. Do not handle trash or do not pick up anything up from the floor. Please notify the sanitation employee or Factor employees in the room to remove it off the floor on your behalf. Now that we reviewed the GMPs here at Factor, we'll now proceed into understanding HACCP. What does HACCP stand for? The origin, short definition, and reason for existence. HACCP stands for the Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, and it's a management system used to control hazards related to food safety. It requires participants to analyze and control the biological, chemical, and physical hazards of all points of production, from raw material production to the end consumer. Where did it come from? Interesting enough, the program began in the 1960s when NASA developed it as part of preparing for space travel. The last thing NASA wanted to have happen was one of their astronauts getting sick from the food that they were consuming on their spacecraft. Food and Drug Administration's Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA, in 2011 requires a food safety plan, HACCP by another name, for all food processing businesses. So you may ask, what are the benefits of HACCP? Well, the HACCP program offers tangible benefits to food processing businesses. HACCP isn't a quality control system. It is a food safety system. However, it does have some tangible quality control benefits when followed correctly. Creating and implementing a program tailored to our products results in tangible benefits for the company, such as improving product quality, promoting high standards, creating consistency and standardization, promoting the latest science, preventing injury and illness, allow you to enter the global marketplace, help you avoid new emerging pathogens, reducing your liability, and effective process management. The 7 principles of HACCP. 1. Conduct the hazard analysis. 2. Determine critical control points also referred to as CCPs. 3. Establish critical limits. 4. Establish monitoring procedures for the critical limits. 5. Establish corrective actions. 6. Establish verification procedures. And 7. Establish record keeping and documentation procedures. In conducting a hazard analysis, it involves identifying the most significant hazards as well as where they are most likely to occur in each step of the production process. There are 3 types of hazards that need to be evaluated. First, there's biological. So we have storage temperature, cook temperature, and chill temperature. Then there's chemical hazards, which consist of allergens, and that could be undeclared allergens or cross-contamination. And then there are chemicals that we use for our cleaning activities. Physical hazards could be metal or other foreign material such as plastic, glass, gloves, pens, or just to name a few. In determining critical control points, or CCPs, in the steps or procedures where you can eliminate or control to prevent the hazards you identified in the Principle 1. The goal is to identify the potential CCPs and then add them to the plan using the CCP decision tree, which requires you to ask, is there a hazard to this step? Based on your answer of yes or no, does the step eliminate or reduce the hazard to an acceptable level? Could contamination occur at this step? And will a subsequent step eliminate or reduce the hazard to an acceptable level? Based on your answer of yes or no, you can see in this flow if you should have a CCP at that step or if it is not a CCP and can be controlled through other preventive controls or measures. Here at Factor, our CCPs are as follows. CCP1 is our cook temperature. CCP2 is our chill temperature. And CCP3 is for metal detection. CCP1 cook temperature, monitoring, and corrective actions here at Factor. Our quality team is responsible for checking the temperature of every cooked product that comes out of the oven and brazier. You will see here our cook log example. It states to record the temperature of all the cooked products that come out of the oven and brazier immediately. The corrective action is if the cooked product does not follow the CCP limits, send the product back for recooking and notify your supervisor immediately. The following guidelines below apply to the products coming out of the ovens and or braziers. You will see the descriptions listed here along to the right of the cook temperature that has to be met in order for it to be safe and to proceed in our process. With our CCP2 chill temperature, monitoring corrective actions, and our chill log as you see here, record the chilling temperature of the products every hour until the temperature reaches below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Please note that all products should chill from 135 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit or below within 2 hours, and 70 degrees Fahrenheit to 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below within 4 hours. Again, our quality team is responsible for checking the temperature of every cooked and chilled product hourly that comes out of our blast chiller. Our CCP3 metal detector, monitoring and corrective actions. The instructions are to check the metal detector hourly. Pass all the standards through the metal detector 3 times. That frequency is at start of each shift, every hour, after each changeover, after a mechanical adjustment, after breaks, and end of shift. The quality team is responsible for challenging the metal detector, passing 3 challenge pieces through the detector 3 times. The standards that we use to challenge the metal detectors is a ferrous 2 mm, a non-ferrous 2.5 mm, and the stainless steel 3.5 mm. Other prerequisite programs here at Factor. In addition to implemented controls via the CCPs, There are several other prerequisite programs, also known as preventive controls. All prerequisite programs and CCPs must be followed throughout the manufacturing and fulfillment processes to assure food safety. The following few slides will list and briefly describe prerequisite programs implemented here at Factor. Good manufacturing practices under our prerequisite programs here at Factor. As we talked about earlier, proper wearing of the hair nets and beard nets, slip-resistant shoes, and clean frocks while in the production areas. Frocks and other PPE such as gloves, sleeves, and aprons should never be worn in the break room, bathroom, or outside. In addition, frocks should never be stored on tables, conveyors, or benches because this could be cross-contamination when going back into a GMP area. Wash hands thoroughly 20 seconds and put on new gloves before handling food or food contact materials, and after using the washroom, touching your face or nose, or handling contaminated material, when switching tasks, taking out garbage, or after coming back from a break. No nail varnish is allowed, or false nails, false eyelashes, earrings, jewelry, stone wedding bands, and watches. The exceptions are medical alert bracelets and plain wedding bands that can be worn with a glove over it. Do not use your cell phone or charging cords. If your gloves have torn or become dirty, wash hands and put on new gloves after 4 hours of continuous use of performing the same task. Do not handle trash and do not pick anything up from the floor. Please notify the sanitation employee in the room to remove it off the floor. Other prerequisite programs here at Factor include Modified Atmospheric Packaging Testing, or MAP. While using a Quantex O2CO2 analyzer, sample one plate at product startup every 15 minutes, line restart, and at the end of a product run. Our acceptable limits are for O2 1 to 3%, and CO2 is 18.5 to 20.5%. Document testing results on our Google Forms specified to both Aurora and Burr Ridge facilities. We also have preventive maintenance and calibration programs. Infrastructure and equipment must be maintained on a set schedule to assure proper operations. All measuring devices, such as scales and thermometers, must be verified and calibrated on a set schedule to assure accuracy of their measurements. Other prerequisite programs here at Factor include ingredient verification label check, and this is for our racks and cambros. This is to be conducted at the beginning of the first run, before and after changeovers, before and after breaks, all cooked and chilling or chilled products. We have the product temperature checks also for our racks and cambros, and these are conducted at every new meal, and temperatures must be at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. We also have continuous room temperature monitoring, which is an OPRP. This is conducted automatically every 15 minutes by our DigiSense system, and again, our temperatures must be at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This is to prevent spoilage with our proteins. Product changeover inspections. These are conducted before and after changeover to make sure all ingredients and packaging from the previous run have been removed from the line before starting a new run, commonly called positive line clearance. And then we also have our pre-operational inspection. This is daily. Prior to operations, the qualified employee performs a pre-op inspection of all kitchen and packaging equipment and utensils to ensure that they are visibly clean. The pre-op inspection is then recorded and kept on file. Label verification. This is conducted at the start of each item run. QA will check the label against a label template for the appropriate meal being printed. The label that's printed information must match that on the label template. Allergen control. We have a lot of allergens here at Factor, so allergen identification is critical for us. All cambros and racks will be labeled with colored labels. Label colors represent allergens contained in the recipe associated with said Cambros and Rex. Each allergen is designated with a color which is exclusive to that allergen. Allergen segregation is maintained between unlike allergens throughout the processes. Cleaning of food contact surfaces is done between meals in production. And our master sanitation plan. The master sanitation plan outlines the schedule for cleaning of the facility and the equipment. The plan encompasses all areas of the facility and equipment, and each area of the facility and equipment is designated at a frequency for that cleaning. Pest control. All our facilities must develop an effective pest management program to assure food is not contaminated due to pest activity. A licensed pest control operator must inspect all pest control devices weekly and implement corrective actions if any activity is observed or reported. A variety of pest control devices can be used to implement controls, as seen below. And if there ever a pest sighting, please notify your supervisor, quality, or sanitation immediately. The establishment of verification procedures are also required. All CCPs must go through the verification step to assure that the controls put in place are in fact functioning as intended. As you see below, our 3 CCPs are listed, and each CCP has a verification study of that particular process step, and it's conducted annually. Additional verification of procedures of your programs, going through verification steps to ensure that the controls put in place are functioning properly, are through internal audits, ATP swabbing, and allergen testing. Last, but certainly not least, is the establishing of record keeping and documentation procedures. It is critical that all of our records for monitoring, verification, validation checks, and implemented corrective actions must be kept on file. This serves as a proof that the checks, inspection, and audits were conducted as intended. Our next topic is now allergens. Allergen awareness is critical, especially for those of us who don't have allergens. What is an allergen? A food allergy is a medical condition in which exposure to a food triggers a harmful immune response. The immune response, called an allergic reaction, occurs because the immune system attacks proteins in the food that are normally harmless. The proteins that trigger the reaction are called allergens. The symptoms of an allergic reaction to food can range from just mild, such as itchy mouth or a few hives, to severe, throat tightening, difficulty breathing. Anaphylaxis is a serious allergic reaction that is sudden in onset and can even cause death. Sensitivity to allergens vary from one person to another, and he or she is likely to be allergic to an unusual numbers of substances. Food and Drug Administration recognizes following foods as allergens at 10 parts per million and over: peanuts, tree nuts, which is almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, chestnuts, hazelnuts, filberts, hickory nuts, and macadamia nuts, eggs, milk, fish, shellfish such as shrimp, crab, lobster, clams, mussels, oysters, scallops, octopus, squid, and snail, wheat, soy, and effective as January 2023, sesame. As we just stated, the degree of sensitivity to the offending food varies from person to person. You can see in the picture directly below is someone's tongue has swollen, and to the right of us, this young girl has a rash on her face, and below her, someone broke out with hives on their arm due to an allergic reaction. How many people have food allergies? Researchers estimate that 32 million Americans have food allergies, including 5.6 million children under the age of 18. That is an alarming rate of 1 in 13 children, or roughly 2 in every classroom. Studies published in 2018 and 2019 estimate the number of Americans of all ages who have convincing symptoms of allergy to specific foods. As you see here on this chart, these are measured by the millions for each category. About 40% of children with food allergies are allergic to more than one food. It is important to understand that food allergy reactions are serious and can be life-threatening. Below are some statistics I'd like to share with the group. Every 3 minutes, a food allergy reaction sends someone to the emergency room. Each year in the United States, 200,000 people require emergency medical care for allergic reactions to food. Childhood hospitalizations for food allergy tripled between the late 1990s and the mid-2000s. More than 40% of children with food allergies and more than half of adults with food allergies have experienced a severe allergic reaction such as anaphylaxis. Medical procedures to treat anaphylaxis resulting from food allergy increased by 380%. That's not a typo. 380% between 2007 and 2016. So how we can prevent cross-contamination here at Factor. It is crucial that proper storage in all aspects of our process in order to prevent any types of cross-contamination. Allergens shall be stored separately. When storing allergens in a warehouse, racking, or shelves, allergens should not be stored above non-allergen ingredients, packaging, and/or products. Any cross-contamination will harm a consumer that may have an allergen. Earlier in our training, we discussed the 3 hazards, and allergens fall under the chemical hazard within HACCP. Undeclared allergens are one of the leading causes of people's allergic reactions. They consume food not knowing that the food may contain allergens they are sensitive to. This can also happen if the food is mislabeled. For example, label states that food contains eggs to which the consumer is not allergic to, but it contains eggs and milk. People who have allergies to food, they depend on our label to ensure they are avoiding these foods. Labeling and color coding here at Factor. All Cambros and racks will be labeled with colored labels. Label colors represent allergens contained in the recipe associated with the said Cambros and racks. Each allergen is designated with a color which is exclusive to that allergen. In the United States, undeclared allergens is the #1 reason for recalls within the food industry. The most recent data here from 2019 shows you that out of the recalls in the United States that year, 122 were for undeclared allergens. This is something we can control, and we must adhere to our allergen program here at Factor. That concludes the training for your new hire onboard training for quality and food safety. Okay, now it's time to take the quiz of what we just went over today. Please scan the QR code on the screen and fill out the quiz. And when done, let the facilitator know so that we can review as a group once everyone's completed with the quiz.